The following is a legal advertisement. This does not constitute individual legal advice and should not be construed as such. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. My name is Michelle Gamino, and I'm the Client Resource and Business Development Coordinator for Gwendolyn J. Stirk and the Family Law Group. Our speakers today are family law attorneys Gwendolyn Stirk and Jennifer Nolan. Today's topic is the divorce process.
So this topic I want to address is the divorce process. I think a lot of people come in and they have the conception that I'm going to file this petition and I'm going to be done within the next 2 months.
Well, I got one thing to say to everybody. One day in your life is 30 days in the court's life. Don't you agree?
I so agree.
Everything is 30 days. I don't know why, but I've been doing this for 27 plus years, and that's what happens.
Absolutely. Even if they say, it's agreed, still, we're looking at least 30, 60 days, maybe depending on the court schedule.
Absolutely, to get it done. Well, what cracks me up is everybody who says that it's agreed, and then you ask them 10 questions. Well, never thought about that. Didn't know that was an asset. What are you talking about? And then before you know it, we don't have an agreement.
Correct.
Not to change the process or anything else. So, yeah, I think that people have a misconception about time. How long do you think the average divorce takes?
Okay. That's a good question, but there's a lot of answers. So are we talking about no kids? Are we talking about a lot of assets? What are we talking about?
Well, let's just talk about no kids first.
No kids. I think, and you don't have a lot of assets, I think you should be able to resolve it within at least 3 months. And that's even doing exchange of financial affidavits after you file your petition, after there's service on the other end. And I think you should be able to wrap it up within that 3 months.
But if you have dissipation, which is where you have one spouse used marital money for a non-marital purpose, or you can't identify what was marital and what was a non-marital asset, you really can't get it done within that time frame.
You can't.
So I think it depends. Is it a simple case? I call simple Americans, and that's the most of us. So don't be critical if this is where you fall. You got a house, and you got a retirement fund, and you got a little bit money in your checking account. That's it. And probably got some credit cards, right?
That's it, yeah.
If you have a case like that, then you can get it done.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side of it, if you have a spouse who has gone out and spent $50,000 traveling with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you have complications of other issues, you can't get it done.
No, it's going to take a discovery process, and I think some people don't understand the discovery process when they're dealing with a divorce, and there's a little hesitation to do discovery, but in order to find out what was spent on the girlfriend or boyfriend, you have to conduct the discovery.
And I think that 3-month period is realistic if everybody is agreed on what it is, but not if we don't have an understanding of the assets. The other thing is we talked about if they don't have kids. If they do have kids, then you have to run it parallel with their parenting portion of their case, which can take a life of its own. Now, under the Illinois Supreme Court rules, they're supposed to have it done within what time frame?
120 days.
They're to get their parenting plan in place. But in terms of having a contested litigation over the allocation of parental responsibilities, under the 900 series of the Supreme Court rules, they're supposed to have it done within 18 months. Right. And, that can be extended for good cause shown if there's a reason why they can't get it done. So, and then let's take a third scenario where you have kids, there's not going to be a contest over the parenting issues in the case or the parenting matters, but there might be a small business, a family business. And then you have to get business valuations and the like. You're still looking.
Takes on a whole life of its own.
That's right.
It depends on the nature of the business, the assets of the business, and it can take on a whole nother life.
And then I think the other issue is that it can also depend on what county you're in. Don't you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. If you're in a large county like Cook County, it's going to take some time.
Right, and it also depends on the judge's schedule.
That's
It blends. We practice in Cook, Will, and DuPage, and I would tell you that you're going to find a different duration or time frame for each county because it's going to be different. And also it can depend on what's happening in the individual judge that you're assigned. Do they have a contested trial? One time I was in a county and we were set for trial 10 times. It was the longest number of times I had been set. And we'd get all our junk ready. You'd bring all your boxes for trial and we were going to get this case done, and you'd show up and, well, the matter from this morning is still pending, or I'm still on trial from the day before. And we get continued time and time again.
Right.
And I think people have to realize it's out of your control.
Right. It's out of your hands. Once you decide to file your petition, or once a petition is filed and you file a response, it's really, sometimes you're at the mercy of the court schedule.
Right, to get it done. And that's the other thing, is that sometimes you have to exercise that patience, because people come in and they also, and we're not even going to get through during our dialogue today, I think, the whole process, because I think the other issue is people have an unrealistic expectation of when they're going to cross the finish line.
Absolutely.
And, if you're ready and you've been preparing for a divorce for 6 months and you're ready to move forward, but your other spouse hasn't even thought about it or didn't know you were coming in today to hire an attorney to get a divorce, it's going to take them a long time to deal and emotionally get to the point of knowing the divorce is going to occur.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And then sometimes that drags out the process of getting an agreement because they're still healing. So how could they possibly think about a settlement agreement at
Right.
that time?
And then you get to the other people that want to have the case over with so badly that they're willing to give up their rights.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I really wish that I could, I don't want to shake clients, but I just want to get in their face and say, do you really understand what's going on here? Are you thinking emotionally, or are you thinking logically? How are you thinking? Because there are certain, I don't want to say rights because we had a conversation, but there are certain built-in statutory rights that you have, and to waive those, we have to make sure that you understand what you're giving up.
Right. For example, on maintenance, formerly known as alimony, if you give that up, you can't come back to the court in the future. Right. So you might have surrendered something, and then 6 months from now, you wake up and you have cancer, and it works both ways, male and female. This is a new statutory provision, and we'll talk about guidelines in one of our podcasts for maintenance, but it's an interesting problem because they want to give it up, or they're in love.
Yes. Have a new boyfriend, and I don't care about maintenance. We're going to live off of love. Well,
that lasts for about a month.
And then once you're divorced, you've waived maintenance. So,
and I think the internet changed a lot of things. So this is always fascinating. When we first got Facebook and all that, I had an influx of people who had hooked up with their high school lover, and they were reconvening, and now they were in love, and they were going to run off and live in the sunset happily ever after, and then it just didn't work out for it. But then they want a divorce, and they want it today. Do you know what today means? I've heard that many times.
they want like that week,
today,
that day.
Get it done.
Or we have a simple divorce, everything is going to be signed, let's go ahead and enter it.
Right.
Today.
Well, does your spouse have a retirement plan? I don't know. Do you have any money from inheritance that we should know about for your non-marital portion? I don't know. Do you know what the family assets are? No. I just signed the tax returns blindly.
And that's another issue, not knowing what's going on in the whole course of the marriage. I don't know about the bank accounts. I don't know about the business. I don't know how much we pay for the mortgage. I don't know how much we pay for any of the expenses. That creates an issue in and of itself, to where you have to conduct the discovery. You have to go through and sit down with your attorney and figure out what's going to happen at the end. Will you be responsible for this mortgage? Will you be responsible for this credit card debt?
Right. Well, and the other thing is that in doing the consultations at the office, I find that 1 in 2 people, so for every 2 people that walk in, one party doesn't know the party's assets. And sometimes it's because it's an abusive relationship or it's part of the plan. But in general, you know what it's a result of? It's life itself.
Yeah.
We all just get comfortable in our zones. You pay the bills, I mow the lawn. You do this, I do that. And so they just don't know the portfolio of the assets, and they were going to get around to it, and then, life happens and time goes on and it never gets done. And that's not a criticism. I always say to people, don't be embarrassed that you don't know.
Right. Like me, I'll be completely honest. My husband takes care of the finances in the house, but I know enough. If I were asked questions, I would be able to answer, but I just trust him to take care of those aspects, but I still know enough to where I can answer questions if I have
And that's another urge that we have. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm not sure if divorce is for me yet, I don't know where I'm at. Hey, our first thing is find out what's going on. Get the information. Go through the drawers. Go through the bank accounts. Go through the tax returns and figure out what's there.
Right. I mean, because you have, especially if you have a joint account, you're listed on the account. Go ahead, get a copy of the statement, see what's been going on. I think you need to know.
You need to know, and you need to educate. But it is life itself that causes it. And I always say you're picking up the rug and you're pushing the crumbs underneath to avoid the issue. face it head first and deal with it. And then if you come in and you don't know and you're not going to be able to find out, there are tools that can be used in the divorce process.
Absolutely. So yeah, once you get past all the discovery, once you get everything out on the table, then you can begin the process of negotiating and setting the course for the final result.
I think the key is no two cases are alike.
No.
And everybody wants to talk to their neighbor. I'm so sick of the neighbors and I don't even know them. But the neighbor did this and their divorce only took this long and they didn't get maintenance and they only paid this much for child support and they shared their children 50-50, and I say I really don't care about the neighbor because it depends on the facts and circumstances of your case.
I can't tell you how many people I've said that to, and they always say, well, my girlfriend or friend of a friend, she got $5,000 in maintenance and I should get the same thing. And I tell you how many times I've said it's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
It depends on the judge. It depends on what's going on. It depends on what's the statutes that's provided in the maintenance statute, the terms that we have to go through in order to get maintenance to begin with. And then that's your result. It's not just because your neighbor Sally is getting this that you
Right,
get it.
but it becomes I call it a crutch. If your neighbor got it, you get it. And somehow now we move that to entitlement. And we have to get past that to understand. And my theme is that knowledge is power. So going to a consultation, if you really want to know how to get your divorce case started
Yes.
and where to begin, get to that consultation.
Absolutely agree.
And that's about it. That's what we would say. We give free consultations here. If you have questions, give us a call.
The proceeding was a legal advertisement from Gwendolyn J. Stirk and the Family Law Group.